How are you?
Hello, John.
Hello again, John.
How are you?
Not bad at all, not bad at all. It gives me great pleasure to announce in this video that I don't think I've had a band that's particularly well-versed, if not, willing to be so confident in talking about the environment and how it impacts upon your philosophy. Julian, you have a few things to say about this. Take it away.
What to say? It's a very complicated thing. I would say I would start with my own experience. I've been part of since we arrived here with my partner in the UK. We've been part of Extinction Rebellion, and we've been part of the protests in London. And it's overwhelming because when you're in the middle of all those people, you realize how the things are fucked up, basically. But at the same time, it's overwhelming in a positive way because you see other people, and not very hard activists, but everyday people who are concerned about it. And
as they should be.
It's really in our mind. And so we're trying to change our way of life because of it. And trying to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
I think for too long, John, extractive capitalism has given people a way in which they cannot think in any other form apart from doing the things that they can now.
And consuming as well.
Yeah,
and constant kind of consumption of product and plastic and earth-killing whatever you have it, man. It's like a punch up at a broccoli bar, man. It's crazy.
It is
there's no easy way to break it down.
Stop using plastic bottles.
Straight up.
Just small things like that. And you can see the fight back still from the old way of living, of consuming, and the capitalist way of like you see like Trump denying climate change. It's just like and people who deny it, and go against science, and not just science. You can see it happening now in the news that the world we're living in is changing, and from the air we're breathing to
the fauna around us.
To the fauna, I mean, there's less animals that we used to see when we were younger.
But also, I mean, it's pressing, isn't it, that over the course of the last 6 months or so, where a huge amount of people have been more housebound, more inside, we've seen like a semi-dramatic change in the very makeup of our outdoor spaces, simply because people refrain from imposing on them so much. I mean, if that isn't telling that something needs to be done as quickly as possible, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and even as a band, being a musician, I'm asking myself, because obviously if the industry restart and at some point we will tour or something, if we have to go to the US, how do we position ourselves as artists in that new world? And I'm not talking about the post-pandemic world. I'm talking about that new world we have to build to avoid the big catastrophe.
Exactly. But there needs to be things put in place, so it's not just down to the artists to think of that too. It's like people be encouraged to do their own recycling. Yes, that will work to some degree, but there needs to be a
big corp change
that revolves around it. And yes, okay, maybe we won't be able to have the massive light show. But
it's a shame.
We'll happily just perform in front of a few candles, John.
Yeah.
What do you think is the main thing that seems to be in the way? As far as I can see, it seems to be a certain amount of cultural responsibility, but I could be wrong. But do you feel that there's something that has to change on the people side of things, or is it the government that needs to make things a bit more easier for those people to take certain responsibility in their own hands?
Big question.
It's a bit of both, I mean,
it has
there are things that we can do individually, but also there has to be, you know, sort of the financial backing to help the sort of people and businesses and through that process.
I think some people need encouragement to do it, don't they?
They do.
The people that, you know, people that might not find it so easy to make up their own minds about what they need to do to make a positive change. They might just need the push in the right direction.
It's also, I think it's deeply misguided to pose it simply on the individual.
Yes.
When, you know, the largest component of kind of, well, world destructing action taking place in the world is by the kind of capitalist machine hurtling through. That is, if anything, I don't know, in enforcing that it is an individual's problem, when in fact maybe it's the big ones.
Exactly. And it's going to need new young politicians with ironclad moralities that will not get broken when they get into those positions, when they can make those changes, when they can think of creative ways to convince, you know, people's who are typically out of that conversation and out of the social realm where these discussions are being had, creative ways to get them to move away from extractive capitalism. It's deep rooted within the whole of society.
Systemic, baby.
That sounds really fascinating. Can you be more specific when you say people that are outside of those particular realms? Who do you mean, and what ways do you think, in your mind?
Well, for example, the way that Labour abandoned the traditional red wall that they had and instead focused on university towns to speak to young and upcoming students with Corbyn. They didn't want to think about anything creative to convince the people from those places that there is a new way of living. They abandoned them completely.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a creative way that politicians can go about encouraging a new way of the world, which isn't solely fed through young, mobile people's Instagram and Twitter and Facebook feeds and spreads out into more of society.
Yeah. I feel that what you're saying ought to be echoed by quite a few people in your position, bands and whatnot, who are left of centre. But there seems to be a need to be leftist and to not necessarily break rank in what they feel was the main problem, whether it be the media's treatment of Corbyn or particular issues that he was bringing to bear in a unique way. Do you think that there will be more bands that are keen to say, you know what, we kind of got it wrong? Or do you reckon it's going to be literally just up to Floral Image and a few others to say what actually happened?
I don't think it's up to bands at all, John. Really. We can have the conversation, but you know, if people listen to us, that will, you know, great. People might be looking at this video thinking, what the hell do these guys know? But you know,
and maybe they'd be right.
Maybe they would be.
you have big bands like, I don't know, the first that come to mind is like Massive Attack, for instance. Their whole pledge to, as a international band, for instance, to stop touring all around the world and trying to attract people all around the world to their concert, because those big guys, they have a voice, and I think we are, as artists, and even more when we are big, when a band is big, we have a responsibility to talk about it. But for sure we won't do it all alone. I mean, the fossil fuels industry, they won't go away that easily.
No.
And that's why we need big politicians with a huge morality, because while they are saying to the people, you have to recycle, we don't focus on what they are doing.
And we can't just be left to try and geoengineer the planet and the stratosphere to try and cover over our tracks either. We need to make it happen
public
now.
either.
No, yeah.
It's the responsibility of everyone, including those fossil fuel mega corporations.
Yeah,
to take recognition that they're the ones that are God.
And like, this goes beyond, you know, our local environment. This is a problem for the whole of the human species.
Humankind. There is no planet B.
And like you saw people react to COVID across the world and make a change to their the way they live, and still are doing that. And like one of the first thoughts I had was like, if only we did this with environmentalism and reacted this way to climate change as well, or had done this in the past.
The people,
and think how much of a difference it would make then.
The people are happy not to take the car to work. The people are happy to not have to commute so much if it is told that by the people in charge that they have to do it for a reason which is for the greater good. Now the greater good is the planet in this instance, John, so the people are up for it. I think
it was a dress rehearsal, that whole pandemic. That's what I thought when it started. And we were like, I was like, yeah, people won't think anymore about climate change. They're going to think about the pandemic. But after that, I thought, okay, what is happening? The whole world being doomed by the pandemic. It's a kind of dress rehearsal. And now it's more easy in the public space to tell the people, if we don't act, if we don't get together, it is just the dress rehearsal of what's coming. It won't be a lockdown. It will be much more difficult.
It'll be a global fry-up.
Yeah.
With all of us. Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. Well, with that incredible mawkish image in mind, I do want to remind people that you guys have actually got like a record out. Where can they go to buy it?
Oh, yeah.
Selling out. Goodness me.
They can go to Bandcamp.
Talking about capitalism,
yeah,
you can buy it on Bandcamp.
It goes to a good cause.
Well, at least our Bandcamp front currently is pretty zero emissions.
It
is entirely digital only.
Yeah.
So in that regard, yes, Bandcamp, all the usual streaming services,
Tidal,
Apple Music, YouTube Music, Spotify Music. I heard that BT are bringing out a music service called just B2sic, which doesn't sound good yet, but we'll get there.
We live in hope, and who knows, maybe one day that will happen. Everything that you need to know about the band is in the description box. If you've been following these videos, there are written interviews as well, where we go into even more in-depth layers, particularly about the evolutionary aspect of the world and how this band wants to talk about it. These guys were Floral Image. I was John Clay. You guys are awesome. Have a good day or evening. Whatever.
Thank you. Thank you,
John.
John.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace be with you.
Bye, John.
God bless.